Rick, you've traveled to space on both the shuttle and the Soyuz. Can you talk a little bit about the experience of launch and then returning to Earth?
Yeah, well, that's a fun thing to talk about. Let's start with the space shuttle. I did launch on the space shuttle 3 times. So the space shuttle weighs, when it's fully loaded, it weighs about 4 million pounds, but it has about 7 million pounds of thrust. So what does that mean? That means it jumps off the launch pad. It is a kick in the pants, and you are going someplace really fast when it takes off. The first 2 minutes of ascent, you're on the solid rocket boosters. That are those 2 solid rocket boosters are attached to the side of the external tank. These solids vibrate the vehicle tremendously, such that, the analogy I use is it's like riding a motorcycle down a train track. That's kind of the vibration you feel. After about 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 10 seconds, those solids burn out and they're jettisoned with a rocket separation motor. There's this loud bang and this orange glow in the forward window as the solids fly away. And then the vehicle is riding on just its 3 liquid main engines. And in comparison to the solid fuel, the ride is now incredibly smooth. But the vehicle is getting lighter and lighter as you burn through the fuel. And therefore, the G-forces are getting stronger and stronger. So these G-forces are pushing through your chest as you move through the atmosphere. And eventually, you start to realize that you're thinking a lot and you're paying a lot of attention to just breathing as the hundreds and hundreds of pounds are pushing down on your chest. And that lasts for more than a minute until finally all 3 main engines just shut down in a split second. So you go from weighing 500 pounds to being weightless, and you get thrown forward in your seat. You've got notebooks and pens and you got equipment, and everything just flies up in your face and starts floating around, and you're in the 0G environment. And then, of course, you start to transition to getting used to 0G. So the ascent on a space shuttle is an incredibly exciting ride. Now, let's talk a little bit about Soyuz. The Soyuz ascent is similar to the space shuttle in a lot of ways, but returning in a Soyuz capsule is really exciting. This is where it gets pretty wild. So after a Soyuz performs its deorbit burn, it starts to re-enter the atmosphere, and the wild ride starts very quickly. Soon after the capsule starts to enter the atmosphere, the Soyuz vehicle breaks up into 3 pieces. The crew's in one of those pieces, and the other 2 pieces re-enter and burn up. The crew capsule assumes a certain position and then starts to re-enter the atmosphere. It assumes the proper attitude. And as it's falling through the atmosphere, the entire capsule seems to be on fire. It's engulfed in this red hot plasma. It seems like I could literally see pieces of the vehicle melting away as we're going through the flames. And you're sucked into your seat as you kind of pull up to 5 Gs, even up to 9 Gs if it's an off-nominal situation. So you're pushed down into your seat, almost being crushed in your seat as you re-enter the atmosphere. Once you get through the thickest parts of the atmosphere, a series of parachutes start to deploy. And the first chute causes this tremendous spin of the capsule. And it was something I never expected. In training, you never experience it. And again, the analogy I use is you're like a shoe in a dryer. And if I wasn't strapped in that capsule very tight, I would have been crushed by the forces going on. But eventually, capsule becomes nice and stable. You're under the main chutes, you're falling very gently until you slam into the ground. And then the Soyuz, it has these engines that fire right before you hit the ground. These engines fire to try to soften the blow, but still, the impact upon landing is pretty severe. And then a few moments later, the Russian recovery crews are there, and they're pulling you out of your capsule, and then you get your first smell of Earth after a 6-month stay. So it was quite an exciting ride back.
Incredible.